Greetings, various and mighty people across the grand and mighty spectrums of time, indeed the multiverse. I am Alexander Gordon Johans, and I am gonna need to make a cut fairly soon because I have a feeling this is gonna be a long video. A long video. Because, you know, I've mentioned before how it's an odd sensation to kind of come back up out of depression into a world that is so shit, right? Because it's like, as you rise, the world sinks around you, and it's a very odd situation to be in, because you're like, because you're no less suicidal, really, because you're still kind of laissez-faire about the possibility of death, and like horrible things are happening all the time, so of course you're not happy. But at the same time, you are not trapped and chained to unhappiness, right? Like, you are in a horrible situation, and so of course you're gonna be unhappy. You're gonna be unhappy a lot of the time because life is shit. But at the same time, right, you are no longer chained to the abyss. You can rise up. You can be happy about things. You can love and care. And it's like, the key thing that I've noticed is that, you know, I started watching political shows out of kind of a morbid sense of, I need to know, hell is coming, I need to be prepared, right? But I talked before in like earlier videos, back when depression was really fucking bad, that kind of, you know, couple of years ago when it was really fucking bleak, back when, you know, calling myself Alexander Gordon Johans was a promise to myself that I would not kill myself, because I was like, I am gonna be riding headlong into a storm and I need to know I'm gonna be holding steady, right? And as the storm was at its worst, I found myself frozen and panicky because the places that I went to escape were too dark, too despairing, too threatening. And as a result, I had to change the way I retreated, right? This is kind of why I had such a swing towards Let's Plays. Like, I've been interested in Let's Plays for years and years, right? But like, there was such a swing towards, I need to make sure that if I am enjoying something, there is someone there, a reassuring voice to say, it's okay, it's a video game, we're gonna have a laugh and joke about this, even if something horrible is going on. That I needed podcasts and video games going at the same time, that I needed the sense of empowerment, that I needed to feel like I was home, like I was safe. And now I found that, you know, I finished The West Wing and I finished Twin Peaks Series 1, and I can't be asked to watch Twin Peaks Series 2 because it's just too slow for me. And it's like, I've got a whole load of other shows that I could watch, like Castle, Jonathan Creek, What was the other one? Parks and Recreation. And Sherlock Holmes, like the Granada TV series, and it's just like, there's not enough meat for me. It's not interesting enough, right? I've gone from retreating from the things I used to love because, damn it, I'm too weak and too scared, and I want to retreat. And I'm scared. To now being like, you know what? It's the fiction isn't tough enough, right? I need conflict in my fiction. I need dark in my fiction. You know, there are moments when I catch myself and I'm like, maybe I shouldn't be taking too much glee and enjoyment in, this incredibly dark fiction. But again, right, it's gone from the fiction I usually enjoy is too bleak and dark for me, I can't handle it, to I'm enjoying this bleak and dark fiction a bit too much. I need to step back a bit, and I need to calm the fuck down. And that's, I think, the difference that I'm really seeing between depression and not having depression. Like, yes, I have naps, but you know what I also have? I stick to sleeping patterns. Like, even when I go off the rails, I correct. I have been having a more or less 9 to 5 sort of existence without a reason to for a while. Like, even with naps in the middle of the day. Like, my body has been telling me, dude, okay. You're okay now. We're over the worst of it. Things are good. And, I know people take the piss out of my hair because, yeah, I don't give a shit. When I cut my hair, I'm just like, my hair is too long. It must go. I don't know why I'm saying. I literally just use a pair of scissors and just like hack, 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 hack. Because I don't give a shit. Because it's gonna look hell no matter what. Right? And it's like, at least this way, I can save myself the awkwardness and embarrassment and a couple of quid going to a proper fucking hairdresser. So what? And hey, maybe it'll look so bad that a couple of commenters will feel the need to point out how bad it looks, and therefore my YouTube ratings will go up. To be cynical. Yeah, I'm gonna stop here. No, I'm not gonna stop. I'm gonna cut here because I'm gonna be going for quite some time. So I retreated and I retreated and I retreated. And now I'm getting out and doing things again. And, the fact that my problem now is I need to find something meatier to relax with. Like I've had enough fluff. Now I need meat on my stuff. I mean, this is why I've gone from writing distraction fix to now having to now kind of plotting a meta-textual sort of series that's kind of fairly complex. And at the same time, I'm sort of, as I'm pre-writing it, I'm editing it, and like I am going to be doing redrafting on stuff, and it's like, yeah. Remember when I used to plate spin? Remember when I used to live for the crisis and the conflict and the deadlines, and it's like, I'm feeling that again. I'm feeling the duty. And And I will return to Where Sylph's Dawning. I will. The reason Where Sylph's Dawning paused was because basically it was right at this moment when they were gonna have essentially like a view of what the outside world was like, because at the end of a sequence, right, somebody's gonna get to the outside world and there's gonna be a large amount of story taking place there, and that was somewhere that I was approaching fairly swiftly, and then it's like Brexit happened, Trump got elected, fuck. Right, because the whole idea was that the world, the outside world would be safety, but that there would be this great threat lurking, right? So there would be this. So when people got, when the heroines got out into this, you know, brave new world, that yes, there would be safety and comfort, but there would also be this sort of looming tinge of terror that there are bad people who are trying to plot bad things, right? And kinda hard to sort of have that storyline in mind when you're living in a world that makes you think actually you'd rather be in the facility getting sorted every day, because hey, at least that way you get food and free rum. Right? You know. So that's why Where Sylph's Dawning has been delayed, but it is coming. It's gonna take a while. You know, it's entirely possible that, you know, shitty things being as shitty things are, you know, maybe the money will run out and, you know, and therefore I'll be dead before I can finish it. But, you know, all things being equal, it will come out eventually. And part of this sort of, you know, retaking of things. I mean, the fact that I am, in fact, reading, and you can't see it because it's on the floor by my bed. But the fact that I am reading through Paul Mason's book on post-capitalism, and sort of, I have taken up, you know, reading actual books again is part of that. Admittedly, a large part of the reason that I am reading actual books again is because there is a book about Alexander Hamilton that has something to do with the musical by Lin-Manuel Miranda that I want to see, that I want to read, and also because there are some lovely fluffy lesbian vampire stories that I would like to read that you can only get on, you know, Kindle. So I need to get back into reading. And because I'm going to be getting back into reading, I'm going to be watching less stuff. And thus I'm going to be having less stuff to review and talk about. And also, I'm feeling like, yeah, I like to work. I'm gonna do stuff to work. I mean, one of the big things that I am going to be working on, you know, in the next week is trying to sort out a WordPress account. So that I have what I would like to do ideally is to have like a website with different sort of offshoots of just like, these are the blogs, these are the political posts, these are the stories, and have stuff kind of organized. because with my current blogspot, it's just one long stream, and it's just a case of dates and searching, and frankly, it's gotten to the point now where it's starting to sort of chug a little, just sort of slowly chunk, 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 chunk between posting things and what have you. So it's like, yeah, I need to work on a new website. And frankly, at this point, making videos for you guys is something I've got down. I mean, admittedly, it helps that kind of I have bizarrely made videos that you're happy watching despite the fact they are utter shite. I mean, admittedly, it seems you only watch the first 5 seconds, but the ad revenue's alright. So yeah, considering this could well be, you know, the first 5-hour video, I'm not so necessarily sure I can blame people if they don't make it through this, but I feel like I should do this. And frankly, I want to, so I'm going to. I'm going to talk about 4chan. And I'm not gonna be doing a massive rant of they're evil either. And I know that actually a large part of the traffic to my channel now is not from 4chan, because 4chan have blocked all mention of me, which frankly I'm bloody glad about. A large part of the views I get are from a place called 8chan.net. That is 8ch.net. Yeah, I'd really like to get blocked from there too. That would be nice. That would be nice. So I'm kind of specifically talking about 4chan here because I feel like 8chan is a different breed. Right? Clearly, like, you know, similar genus, similar super species, but ultimately a different breed entirely. So I'm going to talk about the one that I suppose I know more. First, I need to say I've never been on 4chan. Though as I understand it, I am someone who would fit well into their demographic. I have never given the slightest. I have never visited, and you know, well, okay, I have on occasion when, you know, people have linked me to, hey, 4chan did a massive thread about you, they tried to dox you and all this horrible shit, right? I have cast a glance at the archives and, you know, talked to people occasionally to kind of make them realise, oh shit, he's actually a real person. And maybe I'll talk a bit to kind of try and dispel some myths about me later as part of this video, and because frankly I'd quite like this to be to breach at least 3 hours in length. But let's start with talking about 4chan. I've never never visited there of my own free will and volition. I have never spent any amount of time there. I have never identified as someone who goes on there. I have never considered going there a fun thing to do. I don't actually like the site. 4chan strikes me just genuinely in the way the interface and website design is laid out. It strikes me as a very shite website. Because, I mean, I know it doesn't seem like it, because I'm so crap at everything else, and because artistically I am admittedly a terrible, terrible shithole. But, you know, I did try to set up an automated internet shopping website at the age of 14. I have read up on, like, web design. I have, you know, I subscribe to .net, the sort of the web design magazine, you know, I read lots of Web User. I was never sort of a quote-unquote hacker, but I have tried to design websites in the past, and that's why I'm, you know, that's why me, you know, designing my sort of WordPress website, like, that's why me doing that kind of makes sense, right? This isn't the equivalent of, you know, when him of I don't even know what the fuck's his fucking thing is called. Things I don't just want to start naming shite video games lest I accidentally badmouth somebody who wasn't involved in this, because that would probably be liable. But, you know, suffice to say, I am not one of these, you know, people who decided, yes, I shall represent myself in court because I can't afford anybody else. I am not designing my own websites because I can't afford to get someone else because I don't know anybody who does web design. I am designing my own website because this is something I used to do, this is a skill I used to have, and this is a skill that to a certain extent I still have. You know, artistically I'm crap, but when it comes to web design, I've got a certain amount of moderately outdated, you know, intel and knowledge. And so that's why I'm, you know, developing my own WordPress account, because it's like, this is something I should be able to do. And it'd be fun learning also, you know, it's a useful skill to learn, it's something I can do. So I know web design, I like web design, and 4chan's web design, it's just a fucking mess. It's just an absolute fucking mess, right? It strikes me as just appallingly bad GUI. Just appallingly, like, shite. I mean, no offense to the guy who fucking built it, because clearly he has created a phenomenon that has changed the world, right? For good or ill, the dude has got his place in history, you know, regardless of whether he is, you know, the king of an army of bloody basement-dwelling nerds, right? 4chan has never been something I have ever wanted to be on. Although, fair play to it, it did kind of come to my salvation when I when I kind of was feeling nostalgic about the microphilia webcomic that inspired me to go on to create the writings I had, because would you believe there was a thread talking about, hey, this guy who created this microphilia webcomic, he tried to delete it, but we've got it! So, you know, props to them for that. But, you know, that was a fairly fucking recent thing. Although obviously the original one was long ago. But, yeah, otherwise, no contact with 4chan. Nothing to do with 4chan. Didn't like 4chan. Didn't want to be a part of 4chan. Like, 4chan were people who were over there, and they would come and they would raid, you know. I suppose it's like, you know, they were the Mongol hordes, I was the Romans. Although, of course, you know, me being me, I sort of, when I talk about, you know, the way sort of 4chan discovered me, I sort of find myself talking like Quint in his Indianapolis speech. See, sometimes these 4chaners that come, and then they start attacking, and sometimes they go away. Most times they go away. And then one day they didn't go away. And that is genuinely what happened, is that there would be 4chan raid after 4chan raid, and I think actually one of the first 4chan raids that happened was when I had been playing Minecraft. This was back when basically the only video game I was playing was Minecraft, and basically I was proudly showing off that I had built an artificial island in Minecraft, and I had built like a moat, and I was building an underwater base beneath it, and then I was going to build a castle, and then I think I kind of got bored with the idea of building a castle and eventually got bored of Minecraft. But, you know, I was having a video where I'm showing off this sort of base that I had built, this island, and that was one of the first videos that I can think of where 4chan attacked and attacked and attacked, and I just looked at like the YouTube attribution things of like, where has this traffic come from? 4chan. And it's like, right, you fuckers. But otherwise, it was, I mean, I used to sort of talk about it as like, you know, when trolls give you, when trolls try to troll you, it's like, you know, life giving you lemons, and you decide to make lemon juice. You know, it's just like, yes, please, come insult me, let me have a boost to my YouTube rankings and go up. Right? And that's still kind of my attitude, but back then it was, the trolls were harmless, right? Because they did raids and then they fucked off. They'd turn up on your channel en masse, you know, have a big thing for a couple of days of just like, let's mob him, let's mob him, let's mob him, and then they'd fuck off. And they'd be like, yay, I had a good harvest. The 4chan has been a good harvest. And then UKIP happened. Now, the thing to understand about the UKIP situation is that Britain has always been racist. And quite frankly, we've sort of got good reason to be racist, right? In the sense that we are the country that's tiny, that's absolutely tiny. And throughout a significant portion of our history was defined by invasion, right? The reason that we talk endlessly about World War II and the Battle of Britain was because that was the time we said, no, you fuckers, you aren't invading us this time. You know, the Battle of Hastings is the story of the British trying, fighting this civil war and then rushing down to try to take out the French, and the French just going, whoa, no, fuck you, we're king now. We own your city now. You belong to us. We will change your language. You speak French now. And this is why this is why, you know, we say we have beef to refer to, you know, the meat of a cow, and, you know, cow to refer to the living thing, because the British, the sort of the British, the Celtic, Anglo-Saxon was, you know, cow or whatever, and then, you know, the French have birth, and of course, you know, the French were the new aristocracy. They were the ruling class, and so they only knew the animal when it turned up on their plate, and so they said, "Ah, yes, this is birth, this is beef." And so all the sort of Anglo-Saxon people who are around them say, "Yes, please, don't kill me. Yes, of course. This is beef, isn't it? Yes, this cow, totally beef. Yeah." And then, you know, that's how language evolves. You know, the fact that literally part of our class system and language is based on the fact that we were invaded by the fucking French. Right? And the fact that, you know, we did go out there and we did have this grand empire, right? And then we were the one country that said, nah, fuck it. We've had a revolution. We didn't really like it. Fuck that. Let's have a king again. You know, every year we celebrate the day the revolution failed. Guy Fawkes, mate. Remember the 5th of November, gunpowder treason and plot. I can see of no reason why the gunpowder treason should ever be forgot. Oi, English fuckers, remember, we don't do revolution here. And so then, after having our language and, you know, class system defined by the French invading us, then we end up going to war with France because they want to fucking... because they have been taken over by a dictator promising to liberate them in global revolution. And the fucking Americans rise up, and it's like, dudes, you're fucking committing genocide and enslaving people, and you're saying that we're fucking bad. Fuck you. Like, so yeah, you know, Britain has racists, and to a certain extent, it's fairly justified why we've got them. Like, it doesn't mean that our racists aren't any more deplorable shitheads. It just means we've had them for a while, and it's understandable why we have them. Because we used to have an empire, we used to rule over these people, and, you know, arguably by the standards of other, you know, countries that tried to colonize, we were arguably not so bad. I mean, okay, we did start the first concentration camps, but, you know, like, Britain has racists because, frankly, we had an empire, we don't have anymore. And the reason why we had an empire was because, damn it, we keep being invaded. We just want to stop being invaded, for fuck's sake. I mean, okay, it was also down to the fact of we're a tiny island and we don't have enough landmass to support ourselves, so we're going over to your country and we're taking your stuff. But still, you know, we've got racists, and we've always had racists, and it's kind of understandable why we have racists. They're not nice because racists are never nice. But, like, there is something dependable about the British racist. Like, you can have a talk with the British racist, right? Because British racists, by and large, are pretty darn powerless, right? Like, yeah, okay, now Brexit has happened, but, I mean, even I was making videos sort of saying, well, there are left-wing reasons why we should maybe vote to leave, to leave the European Union. And that is, to a certain extent, why I'm not harping on Jeremy Corbyn and his three-line whip, encouraging people to vote for Brexit, because A, it wouldn't have fucking achieved anything, right? Even if he had said, we shall stand up and we shall fight this, all he would have done is handed, you know, his detractors the mic and the perfect opportunity to attack him. And also, right, it means that, you know, the Tories can be remembered as the party that fucked over Britain and brought us out of the European Union, and then Labour can come along as the grand socialist heroes, ready to save us all by, you know, guiding us into a future of universal basic income. Or at least that's the dream I'm clinging to. The dream I'm clinging to as I lie awake at night. There have always been racists in Britain. Always have. So, it was understandable that there were going to be racists who didn't like my videos. And it was understandable that there were going to be racists who didn't like my videos, who were going to be very, very nasty. The problem is, 4chan is defined by being powerless and desperately craving power. They have so little power, they are so annoyed and hurt by the fact that they have so little power that if you try to remove what little power they do have, namely say and do stuff on the internet, then they get very, very upset. And also, at the same time, 4chan are a group of individuals who as my ex sort of said when trying to defend piracy to me, well, what am I going to do with my infinite free time? These are individuals who have given up, who have retreated, who are fucked, know they are fucked, and want, fancy, an escape and some way to pass the damn time. And frankly, after the last 2 years, I can kind of understand that impulse. I may not like it, I may not agree with what they do with it, but I can kind of understand that impulse. I made a mistake. I made a mistake in how I responded. Because there was a contradiction there. Because there were two different kinds of audiences. Because, you know, the code of 4chan is you do not talk about 4chan. And because there were legitimate racists angry that I was attacking a party they stood for. I made a mistake. I made a mistake in how I responded. And the thing is that I actually share this flaw with Donald Trump, and with, I would argue, I wouldn't imagine, many of the people who serve on 4chan, which is that I have an anger management issue. Now I have a highly complex, sort of set of codes and like morality and what is and is not acceptable, and like I specifically forbid revenge because damn it, if I allowed myself to want revenge, then I would be wanting to string up every goddamn commenter. I mean, there is a guy going around around my friends, my Facebook friends at the moment, trying to get them to add him, and you know who you are. And like when I first found out about it, like my first instinct was just like string him the fuck up, shoot him dead. That's why I have all these rules, because I acknowledge that if I let the world work how my rage worked and wanted it to work, the world would be a much worse place. I mean, I had this really quite difficult and lengthy conversation with someone who identified themselves as a male feminist, and basically they had lost someone. They had lost someone in tragedy, and they had lost that person because of somebody else, and so they were just filled with this obviously still boiling rage. And they were like, I want these people to suffer, but if people suffered, if they knew they would suffer, then they would stop committing crimes. And no, they wouldn't. And you know how we know they wouldn't? Because history shows time and time and time again that if you string people up, if you torture them, it doesn't change a damn thing to prevent them doing it again in the future. Doesn't change a damn fucking thing. The Romans put Jews and Christians up on fucking crucifixes to torture them for days and days, not letting them die. Because they were a multi-theistic religion. Like they were a multi-theistic culture, right? The whole way Roman systems worked, the whole reason Roman culture and society worked, was that they would invade a new society and effectively say, it's alright, you can be part of Rome now, do as the Romans do, you've got your own gods, you've got your own beliefs, awesome, bring them in, they can be part of the Roman pantheon, it's okay, we will respect your beliefs because that's how we have peace. And then, Jews and Christians came along and they were like, actually, we have the one true God. And the Romans were like, fuck you! You're gonna threaten fucking everything! Stuck them up on crucifixes and like, we will keep you alive, not letting you die in horrible, horrible agony. And then you will know not to fuck with the Romans. And now, all that is left of Rome is the fucking Vatican, the church of the fucking Catholics. That is what happens when you are stupid enough to believe that violence and suffering will achieve any kind of good. They win. And I was stupid. I was so very, very fucking stupid. And this is a stupidity I have portrayed time and again. This is a stupidity that the left is portraying now. Sorry, I tend to slip into the sort of bad Scottish accent, imitating Sylvester McCoy's Doctor, when I get really sort of angry and self-righteous. Seventh Doctor is so awesome and so mighty. I was stupid, and I was outraged at the dichotomy I saw. And I knew it was probably just different sets of people. I knew that it was probably just genuine racists and other sorts of people trying to do different stuff. But what I saw was rage and outrage and insults and threats, combined with the 4chan-esque trolling and "Vote you, Kit lad, you know it makes sense." So I raged and I was so angry. But I had to give them a chance. I fanned the flames. I told them that if they wanted reaction, if they wanted the kind of meltdown that Trump is famous for, that the way they delivered it was by blending utter barbaric cruelty and racism with a mocking attempt at niceties. I did not know what I was dealing with. I did not know that I was training a culture to attack me. You know, I've said time and again that 4chan will never be as bad as my subconscious, but god damn it, they want to try. They really, really want to try. And I have been so merciful and so outraged that I have trained them to become this image, to become this combination of utter contemptuous bigotry and hatred and insults and threats, combined with a mocking, bowing friendliness. Yes, sir, and oh, my overlord. I made this. I made this in my stupidity, in my rage, in my anger. I made this burden. You know, it's funny. 4chan is an organization, a collective of individuals defined by masculinity, defined by by the competitiveness in which men are brought up, by the idea of alpha and beta, by the idea that masculinity is so fragile and that it should be so great, but it is really so fragile. I mean, you look at their leader, the king of the fucking deplorables, Donald Trump. Here is a man who has everything, yet is the biggest loser of them all. Because that's what the 4chaners feel like. The 4chaners do what I do in many ways, in that they are a load of individuals, a load of young men mainly, who feel trapped, who feel doomed, who feel like failures, and who can only live by trying to escape and pretending that they are so much more powerful than everybody else. And the difference is that while I write stories, whilst I create art, albeit, bad and shitty fetishistic art, they're out playing other people's carefully constructed games and raging when the games that they play have elements that don't strike at their sense of fragile masculinity and the need to have it empowered. I trained my enemy to attack me in more racist and condescending and patronizing ways. I trained my enemy to become the mirror of what I hate about myself. Because that duality between the utter contemptuous rage and the desperate desire to please, that is how I see myself. That's why I raged about it. I have a fairly firm grasp on reality. And so I know that is not what I am actually like, but in the dark moments of 4 in the morning when you know you are going to die, no, in those dark moments, I am so hateful of myself because I think myself so monstrous. And I think that the reasons that I am not monstrous are just part of this game, this pretense that I put out. I'm not a white knight. I am the monster that fights other monsters. But I am the monster that fights other monsters because I don't want to be the one getting fought. Because I would rather be on the side of the angels attacking at the demons than be facing the angels myself. That's what my deepest, darkest insecurities say about myself. That's why it doesn't matter how many fucking gas chambers Donald Trump opens, how much torture his regime decides to put on me. I will always stand against fascism. I will always stand against against horribleness and bigotry. Because I will always and forever be more afraid of the left. And it is irrational. It is irrational. You know, there are stories that, you know, emerge occasionally from the kind of individuals who would fit well on 4chan, who would seemingly love 4chan, who are like, you know, the left doesn't understand people. It's so unforgiving, and it's like bullshit. Bullshit. You know, these people complain about how the left isn't accepting of you if you like anime and stuff. Bullshit! Fucking bullshit! I mean, I'm writing vor fiction. I'm writing vor fiction of fucking Doctor Who characters. I shared on, you know, on Facebook and Twitter that one of my more recent sort of fantasy things that fantasy scenes that was just stuck in my head and causing me so much glee was the idea of, you know, Amy Pond sort of lying naked in maple syrup as Hannibal Lecter was on a date with this great tentacled monstrosity with, you know, a load of eyes around the top of its head, upon which sat just a row of razor-sharp teeth before a drop into a cavernous stomach. You know, the Contra Voxae are an amazing, monstrous creation of mine, and I am so proud of them. And I am particularly proud of the horribly, horribly disgusting and depraved ways that I use them. But, you know, like, my friends, not only are they totally cool and chill with that, they liked it. They're like, yeah, you're talking about Amy Bond. Yeah, salute you, man. They don't care. The left is fine. The left is chill. The left is like, yeah, you're fetishistic. You're into stuff. It's fine. So long as you're not. So long as you understand and respect people's boundaries, it's okay. You can be into what you're into. You're all right. So long as you know, you remember that fiction is fiction, it's okay. If you actually decided to go out and, you know, try to eat someone, then it would be a problem. But, you know, fantasizing about someone in maple syrup, that's okay. Left is tolerant. The left is loving. The left isn't coming to attack you. The left is coming to attack people who will attack it. If you attack it, it will fight back. You know, it's this, you know, George Orwell quote that I bring up sort of, you know, time and again, that, like, you know, the left may be slow to mobilize, but once they do, they win. You know, they will fight hard, they will fight dirty, and they will win. And 4chan should not be fighting the left. I shouldn't. I mean, I find it kind of ironic, actually, that, you know, the last 2 years, whilst I was, you know, dealing with depression and feeling suicidal, you know, 4chan reached out to me and tried to convert me to the side of the alt-right, like, come, we will nurture you, we will look after you, you can be among us, we will make you into an alpha. you know, just sort of, you know, they were basically saying, you know, you hate yourself. You want to be better than other people. You want to stop being, you know, feeling like you're a horrible monster. Well, come with us and we can give you the dream of superiority. And it's like, I have the dream of superiority and he's called the Farshnook. I don't need you. I don't need a movement to give me a false sense of security. I'm a writer. I can do that myself. I do not need Donald Trump to be my daddy. Right? Although I have to say, I am understanding more and more why there are so many fucking submissive men, right? And why there are indeed so many submissive women as well. Because it's just like, at the moment, the world is so fucked that the idea of saying, you know what, I'm just gonna do what you say, you can do whatever the fuck you like because I'm done just doing anything in the world. Right? I can understand that desire. I can. But I'm not that sort of person. I am raging at the world not because I want the world to kowtow to my ideals, right? Like it would be freaking awesome if, you know, if an Amy Pond equivalent, you know, some glorious young ginger woman were to come up to me and, you know, want to do all these lovely things. That would be amazing and delightful, and I would not believe her for a single fucking second. Right? It would take sort of it would take basically the Farshnook being real and sort of, you know, showing me impossible things for me to be like, okay, you're actually fucking real, because in no other way, in no other reality would I ever believe it. That's sort of why I sort of do all this research into BDSM and stuff, because it's like, look at all this amazing stuff I will never be a part of. Because no one will ever be interested in me, and that's okay. You know, I write these fantasies, but that's all they are. Fantasies. I don't need a woman to define me. I don't need a woman to, you know, be a man. I don't need to lift weights to be a man. I am a man because that's what I am. Sorry, I didn't mean the burping to be part of the statement. Burping may be a stereotypically masculine thing, but I did not mean that. You do not have to burp to be a man. Although I can't help. Having watched Linkara's videos, I cannot help at any time someone, you know, confuses my gender or asks me, you know, are you a boy or a girl? I can't help, you know, thinking of that joke that is repeated on top the fourth wall of I am a man! Sorry, no, I did that wrong. It's I am a man! Because it's so fucking stupid. I mean, particularly as in the actual sort of example, it's fucking Superman in the future, drawn by Rob Liefeld, so he's fucking roided up with a fucking beard, going, I am a man! But at the same time, like, it is such an utterly fragile, unmasculine thing to do. You know? I mean, it's like the idea of, you know, of girl power in the 90s. Like, that's what I think of when I think of, you know, empowerment. When I think of empowerment, I think of people who don't have any power, but who really, really fucking want it. And so when I see a white supremacist, what I really see is sort of, what I really think of and see is someone who is really, really not a white supremacist. Like, they want to believe they are supreme, but the very fact they are so keen to shout that they are white supremacists means that actually, no, they are incredibly not supreme. It's like the people who slip through the gaps occasionally on my Twitter and are like, why do you hate your own race? And it's like, dude, I don't hate my own race, right? White people have along with doing a lot of horrible shit, right? White people are people. They're okay. They're doing alright. Yes, they are being told to stop being such shitheads to people who aren't white. Oh my god, that is such a fucking pain. Ugh. And it's not a pain, because unless you are the police officer who has shot an unarmed black kid, right? Unless you are the guy who is in the KKK, who voted for Trump because you hate those damn Muslims or you hate those damn Mexicans and those damn immigrants, right? Unless you are a racist, it's not gonna affect you that white people are making concessions to not be racist anymore. But when you are a member of 4chan, when you are someone who has this nihilistic sense of your own place in the world, then anything that seems to be making, you know, it's that line, you know, to the entitled, equality feels like oppression. And it does feel like oppression, and I know that because, you know, I'm a white guy, and I feel it sometimes, right? I feel it at times that it's like I'm basically a white guy at the worst time to be a white guy, but simultaneously, never have I been so very thankful that I am a white guy, because it's like there's a whole load of racists around me. I'm all right. I mean, yes, I am literally stalked by Nazis, but, you know, the secret police aren't going to come to my door because I'm a white guy. I'm alright. I'm born and bred in England. I'm gonna be okay. You know, I do find it funny, incidentally, that I have a cousin who is an immigrant to America and voted for Trump because, well, you know, it's those damn immigrants and they come over that fucking, they come over the bloody border, and it's like, you are an immigrant to fucking America. But it's because you're white and they're not. White supremacists are not supreme. White supremacists are white fragile people. Because if you are truly supreme and confident in your supremacy, you don't need a fucking movement to protect your fucking supremacy. You know, it's like this idea that you see in, you know, popular culture of like people of these, you know, really hyper masculine, you know, monstrous men who make sort of jokes about the fact they're in homosexual relationships. Because if you're that fucking confident in your masculinity, you don't need anything else. Whereas me, right, with my Kalman syndrome and my bisexuality, right, that I was heavily in the closet about until the last 2 years, right, I could never make any of those kinds of jokes. I could never go anywhere near the color pink. Like, the color pink still is, it almost makes me physically uncomfortable, because it's just like, girly, it's girly, no, keep the girly away. Do you see how fucking hilariously weak that is? How fucking hilariously weak that is. And it's like, I acknowledge that my fantasies are based on this position of weakness. But then that's why the 4chaners voted for Trump. Because they are failures. And they know they are failures. And they hate that they are failures. And the only way they can live with themselves is if they start to feel a little okay with the fact that they are what they are, right? You know, I suppose it's like my sister, you know, says to me occasionally in a kind of way that always strikes me as a bit sort of condescending and wishy-washy, which is, you know, like, but before you can love another, first you must learn to love yourself. And it's like, it's almost like this is what 4chan has been needing to do for a while. Like, there are a bunch of lonely, isolated people who clearly, dearly need to go out into the real world and just talk to girls, right? I mean, this is why the pickup artist movement exists. This is why people are so outraged at the idea of consent, because it's not that they're going out and raping people. These are people who can't even say hello to girls. It's that they hate the idea that their non-existent chances, because they aren't taking them, are being limited. Right. That somehow, if they got the courage up to go outside and speak to a real person, to a real human being, then, you know, they wouldn't be able to take it if that woman said no. And like, they're angry and annoyed at people saying, hey, consent matters, because they want to believe that if they finally left their fucking parents' basements, that things would be okay, that they would find a way to be happy. And in their imagination, raping a girl is their way they would be happy. Or is one possible way. And that speaks of a very sick and low self-esteem. If you feel like the only way you will ever be happy with another person is if you rape them. No, it's sick and it's monstrous and it's wrong. I mean, okay, I'm gonna take another jump cut here to kind of top up on refreshments, because I think the next part is gonna be a bit of a long session and for me. Okay. So a while ago, after I had left my ex, I made a video about it and what I had learned from the experience. I said some things I probably shouldn't have done, but frankly, he's a ghost who wasn't going to watch the video and was never going to be found, so it's not exactly like it matters. Even if I do regret being so candid about somebody else's details now. Not that they ultimately matter much. On that video, somebody said that they felt bad that even I had a better love life than them. And at the time, I just took it as a joke, as trolling, as... But is it worse that I am now about to try and be kind to you? Because, spoilers, but that's exactly what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna be kind. And not in a, the Doctor being kind of way. Yes, I have had relationships. And the thing is that I am bisexual. I am polyamorous, albeit open to monogamy. I am interested in microphilia and in sexual domination, and I suppose general domination, albeit on a very consensual level. But at the same time, I'm not... I can be chill, right? I have fetishes. I would like to indulge these fetishes with other people, but they're not a necessary for me. Whereas my friend, my ex, for him, his fetishes are necessary. His fetishes are why he wants other people, are why he wants other romantic sexual partners, because he needs his fetishes in order to have any kind of peace or calm from the world. And I feel like for my demographic, for the young men, we are lost. Because we were brought up on dreams on dreams and stories of going out into the world and changing it and being effective, on stories of being the hero. The hero's journey, the Christianity is the hero's journey, right? And so therefore, when you're learning in class in religious studies about the story of Christ, and then you see these stories in the media, sort of fictional and quote-unquote non-fiction, that are showing the same messianic story being played out, of someone starting from nowhere, having the call to adventure, going through adversity, and ending up in a position of power and respect and happiness. We think that's how the world works. I am like many men in that I essentially was told this tale of how when you grow up and you do the right things and you behave the right way, you'll get a girl. And it's the way I sort of explained it to my ex is that, like, you know, advertising is all about association. Okay, it is about selling a product for associating it with a lifestyle. And the thing is that for me, bearing in mind that, obviously with Kalman syndrome, I had less testosterone than the average woman. When I watched these adverts that were like, here's the new Range Rover, or, okay, Range Rover isn't necessarily the best example, like, here's the new Porsche, or here's the new Rolex, and the new Audi, and here's the new bottle of Diet Coke, and, all advertised with good-looking women. It's like, hey, it's the new iPod, the new shiny tablet PC, and advertised with pretty women. And okay, not necessarily. Pretty women is kind of a divisive thing to say because pretty is subjective, right? What I mean is, the kind of young, thin kind of woman with the proportions society has come to expect of, like, the Hollywood standard of beauty. They used that aesthetic to sell these things that I thought were cool for objective reasons, right? I like technology because of what it can do. I like cars because of what they can do. And so, whilst advertisers were selling these things because, hey, you want to get them because then you're going to be the kind of guy who gets the pretty girl, I was more being sold on the idea of the pretty girl because, hey, if you get the pretty girl, you can be the kind of guy who gets to drink the good drink and have the cool watch and have the nice car. I almost got sold on kind of conventional male sexuality through my nerdy desire to have the cool shit. Objectifying the female form was sold to me. Hold on. Webcam! What are you doing? Webcam. Maybe I should pause it. There we go. Yeah. It was, pretty girls were objectifying women, which was sold to me on the basis of all these products I already cared about. Amy Pond was sold to me on the basis of, look, she travels with the Doctor, she's in the TARDIS. And clearly, to a certain extent, right, there was a matter of cold calculation in there when Stephen Moffat was deciding on how he wanted his TARDIS team to work, right? I mean, cold calculation is at the heart of Doctor Who. Like, Doctor Who has always been, we want a certain demographic, so we're going to have these people here, and it's always had, and we're going to have a pretty young woman, because that way the young girls get someone they can look up to, and the dads get to have a hot chick they can look at. And I realise I'm being very knuckle-dragging here in my sort of language and terminology, but what I'm trying to say is that, like, for me, it was never about the knuckle draggingness, right? It was about wanting the things that were associated with it. I was interested in Doctor Who because I was interested in the psychological profile of the 11th Doctor. I was interested in how the TARDIS worked and the aesthetics of the TARDIS and the story and the plot and the characters, and then I realised actually the 11th Doctor is fucking hot. Actually Amy Pond is fucking hot. Right? I have been about the kind of the non-sexual reasons why things are good first, and then I've had the sexual things sold to me. And that's why sort of I suppose BDSM is a weirdly natural fit for me, because BDSM is something that is sexuality by way of practicality, right? In the sense that, you know, I suppose whilst 4chaners are busy hiding away watching anime for their waifus, or is it waifus? I'm not sure. Because I don't watch anime. I need to get into it at some point, but I just not interested. The art style just doesn't appeal to me. But you know, whilst you're hiding away in these places, you've accepted that you're pathetic. You've accepted that you're fucked. You've accepted that you're not gonna get anywhere. And you just want to believe in this myth and fairy tale that you're gonna be alright. You're gonna be okay. You're gonna get the things you like. And people and women become part of that thing you like. Right? Women are not things. I mean, admittedly, that is part of my fantasy, right? You know, part of the reason I can now successfully, like, you know, kill off the Farshnuk and introduce someone else, someone better, is that I have written the Bamkirsch story, The Toy Maker, and realized, actually, you know what, the Bamkirsch is good enough, right? Because the Bamkirsch, her whole shtick is that, you know, she is the capitalist. She is the woman who turns people into toys. And as it turns out, that capitalistic idea of ownership is very, very appealing when you have no money and you are a guy with nothing who hates himself, right? Because, yeah, okay, it is creepy as fuck because it's a fucking fetish, right? And because, you know, certainly, like, there are reasons why I feel very uncomfortable about portraying women of colour as sylphs in my fiction, right? Because I'm very aware that, like, what for me is within this particular setting and set of contexts a different kind of thing could, from a certain point of view, basically be slavery, or even worse, sexual slavery. And obviously, that is bad. That is very, very, very bad, right? And it is an odd thing that in my head, it is it's less problematically associated with slavery if it's white people, but there we go. I suppose that's what comes from, you know, I suppose a certain amount of latent bigotry from a culture and society that you're used to sort of, even if you're someone who isn't racist, you're used to associating, you know, black people and people of different color as an oppressed group who come from this time and lineage and ancestry of slavery, whereas you tend to think of, you know, white people as just people, you know. And maybe there is a certain amount of bigotry in the fact that I am okay, more or less, most of the time, with, you know, white women being, you know, sylphs in this situation, and not okay with, you know, women of colour, you know, being in that situation. Maybe it is racist. I don't know, like, suffice to say, there are a whole load of other problems associated with my fetish, and I'm kind of about to go into it, because, you know, this idea of ownership is very much there in the toy maker, you know, this idea that, you know, the toy maker, the Bamkirsch, goes around, finds, you know, quote-unquote, pretty young women, and convinces them to, you know, sign contracts agreeing to be toys, agreeing to be property, right? That fetish, right? It is a capitalistic one. It is one of male domination and power, and sort of the fact that the Bamkirsch is a woman, allows me to sort of, you know, feel a little bit less skeevy about myself, and B, has the added sort of twist of, like, you know, lesbians are sexy. Right? You know, like, yes, it is nice that there is, you know, a powerful older woman from a sort of pseudo-feminist point of view, but also from a dirty young man point of view, it is nice that there is a powerful older woman and a submissive young female. How am I a dirty bastard? Shall I count the ways? But the point is that, for me, that fetishistic idea of ownership, in that scenario, is all about the idea of consent. Right? In the sense that the way it works, the way it can work, the only way it could work, is with the, you know, quote-unquote consent of the women being turned into toys. And therefore, the fantasy and the fetish presented through this, you know, through diversions talking about, you know, quantum teleportation and the ethics of consent and all this stuff. Ultimately, what it's about, what the fetish is about, is the idea that a woman would fundamentally be okay and happy and not have a problem. Right? That's the fetish. That ultimately is the core of the fetish of submissiveness. It's just like, no, you're alright. You're okay. Yeah, you fucked up. You're in a shitty place. So what? I accept you. I validate your existence. It's okay. You know, I was walking back from the shops today, and I found myself, you know, incidentally, it is funny how, well, not funny so much as it is just interesting to note that it used to be that walking killed me because it hurt my feet. Now walking kills me because it's freaking cold, so I go out in a thick, heavy coat with a jumper and gloves and a hat, and then I come back overheating. I was thinking about the fact that kind of the smile is the most erotic thing about a person, right? Because most fetishes, if they involve another person, whether they are, dominating, or whether they are about dominating the other person or submitting to the other person, or or their grand, strange, transformative, narratives involving sci-fi ideas where they're turning into dragons or furries or giants or whatever. Fundamentally, at the core of the fantasies, the reason they work, the reason they are so powerful, is the idea that the other party is happy about it, accepts and validates, and is almost gleefully ecstatic at the event in which your fetishistic scenario takes place, right? That consent is the fetish and the fantasy, and that all this dress up with the farshnook and the silks and shrinking and were sharks and vor, and like all this stuff is ultimately just kabuki theatre around the point that the fantasy is of another person who is just happy and accepting with whoever you are, right? And the thing is that I think the key difference between me and a lot of people on 4chan is that not only do I sort of have go for a lot of series of self-examination, but I do these series of self-examination in the open. It's like when you're doing a maths problem. You want to let people check your work, right? And I suppose if you are someone who is among who is a 4chan user, who is among this demographic of fragile young men, that the idea of a fragile young man exploring his sexuality and coming to terms with his identity, that is going to be fascinating to you. And it is hard for me to identify with 4chan because 4chan doesn't want to be identified with. 4chan doesn't want to have anyone empathizing with it. They don't want you to know about them. They don't want to be... They're so vulnerable, and they know they're so vulnerable. They don't want to risk anybody knowing who the fuck they are. So they try so hard to resist analysis. But I'm here to say that, like, I have been since 4chan swarmed and swarmed and swarmed me and then didn't go away. Since I was stupid enough to rage and conflate the two different groups attacking me, the trolls and the genuine racists, since that moment I have basically been at war with 4chan. Even when I have retreated from the war and said, you know what, I'm not going to be a part of this, they've continued fighting. They chose me, they wanted me, they kept attacking. But you know what? When I listen to a Cortex podcast and I listen to CGP Grey say, if you want to make things better, you'll leave the comments open and you'll let them post whatever the fuck they want. When I listen to that and I allowed the comments to be open, things calmed down. Things fucking calmed down. When I made a concession, when I reached out an olive branch and I said, fine, talk, they calmed the shit down. And so this is me saying that, lads, you're not alone. You are not alone. You do not have to turn to the alt-right. You do not have to turn to Milo and Breitbart and Steve Bannon and Donald Trump. You don't have to be fucking Pepe. You do not have to be the loser who is turning into the skid. You do not have to be the failure who is triumphal in his failure. You do not have to be the hot mess, glad in an ironic way that they are a hot mess. It's okay to have fantasies. It's okay to have fetishes. It's alright. It's okay to be insecure. It's okay to worry, to angst. It's okay to have sexual preference. It's okay to want more out of life. It's okay to wish that life didn't shit on you. It's okay to have differences of fucking political... This is why I don't debate. I refuse to debate because debates don't solve anything. Because we aren't politicians. We aren't lawyers. What we are is people. And we can either try to get along or we can start arguments. And I know that it can be hard when you have spent your life as the butt of the fucking joke to talk to people because you're used to answering questions. The debate seems like the logical form of conversation because it is a set of questions and answers. Because it has a form and a roster and a here is how two people have a conversation. It has rules and ways that it functions. You don't need to debate to have friends. You don't need to debate to have a conversation. You can chill, you can joke, you can laugh, you can Be happy and accept and love yourself. I feel like we need a movement for the disaffected young men who maybe aren't on the left but don't want to be on the far right either. The monsters who fight monsters. And in that moment, I could swear we were all the Farshnik. Because maybe this is our hell. Maybe we are the pathetic young men who want nothing more than to be all powerful and never will be. And maybe that's okay. But you can be happy. And do you want to know how I got my boyfriend? He found me, and the way he found me was he had a list. He had a list of people who fit his criteria, and he sent them his life story and just said, accept this, accept who I am. And it worked. Not necessarily amazingly. It's not the best strategy in the world, but it worked. He tried. People are not jobs. We do not have entry criteria. We are not massed with tons of people applying for the same position. There is no grand interview process with inquisitors on the other side of the table saying, yes, and what can you bring to this relationship? Yes. Well, I see. That's all very, very good. But how are you with customer service? Yes. And what if we get a difficult phone call? Yes. Yes, I see you've got a load of degrees, but do you have any experience? You must have 5 years experience in a relationship before you can even be considered for a starting position at our company. Relationships are not like jobs. Just say hi. And if the people who you're interested in say no, move on. Try somebody else. There are 7 billion people on the planet. You're gonna be okay. You're gonna find someone. Everybody's gonna find someone. And I know that at the moment there is this that 4chan is defined by this bitterness towards women because women are what they want and they are what they cannot have. But women are people. You don't need to fucking have all these conspiracy theories in your head about them. Yes, some of them are assholes. I don't like the fact that the fucking hashtag kill all men got started in the first place. I don't like that. I don't like the fact that there are people who joke about male tears. but I also don't like that men harass women. You need to stop looking at the world through the lens of your own suffering. I mean, I am not like these other people on 4chan in the sense that I am not someone who is hiding away from reality because I refuse to engage in reality. I engage in reality. I am a part of reality. I have loved and do love and have many friends, and I get by. I get by, and I do my best to have a good existence. And yes, I am fucked. But I am fucked in the way that everybody I know is fucked. You know, I was in the shops today getting a fucking Scotch egg. And I've just remembered the bloody sketch from, well, not sketch, but the bloody scene from the British Office, where is it Keith, who is this basically great tall fat guy talking about how much he likes his Scotch egg, and there's Ricky Gervais's David Brent there being a dick about it. Sorry. But you know, I was genuinely in Sainsbury's, right, in my heavy coat with my fucking headphones on, with my hat on, my gloves on, waiting for a Scotch egg, and I couldn't help overhearing these two guys, you know, one behind the counter cutting up, you know, the meat for somebody else, for the other guy who was a customer, and they were talking about like doing engineering at university and working for Sainsbury's, and it's like, that's the world we fucking live in. There aren't the jobs. We pushed and we said, everybody go to university. So everybody went to university, and then there weren't the jobs. There just weren't. And the jobs are disappearing, and they're disappearing, and they're disappearing, because when the economy is shit, shops shut down. Austerity might seem to a moron, to someone ignorant of how economies work, to be an efficient way to pay off a deficit, but all it does is wreck the economy even further, ruining the chances of a recovery, meaning that you make less money from taxes in the long run, meaning that the deficit increases. And it also means that there are less and less and less jobs. And yet companies are feeling the squeeze, and they need to try and cope. So they first off, one of the things that a failing company will do is they will try desperately to attract new talent at the top, because they're like, the reason we are failing is because we are not doing enough. Right? Because that's capitalism. Capitalism is, it's always my fault. I've not done enough. And so if your company is failing, you're like, we must get new young talent. We must hire new people. We must compete for the most expensive to hire people in the business. And this is why the richest salaries raise and raise and raise, whilst people elsewhere in the company are getting sacked, and the company still needs to stay afloat. They still need stores to stay open whilst they are sacking people. So how can they keep making the money to keep the stores open whilst they are sacking the people who would do the business? Automation. They buy machines because, yes, the machines are expensive to begin with, but once you've bought them, the machine doesn't need to take a sick day. The machine doesn't need time off to see kids. The machine doesn't need a pension paid for. The machine doesn't need to have health insurance if you're in America. The machine just works. And yeah, occasionally it doesn't, so you need to hire someone to make sure the machine works. But that's one person can keep 5 or 6 different machines working fine. So you've scrapped 5 jobs and replaced them with one that's probably part-time. It makes sense economically. But if the economy recovers, which admittedly it's not gonna recover, because essentially we had the banking crisis, the housing crisis, we had the recession, then we had austerity, then we had more austerity, then we had Donald Trump being elected, then we had Brexit, now we've got hard Brexit. And so it's basically like, anytime the economy looks like it's about to recover, another hit. Hey, the economy, boom. The economy, boom. The economy, boom. The economy, boom, 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 boom. And so now we're at the point where the economy is just free falling. Woo! We're fucked. But should the economy ever recover, well, they now know they can scrap the majority of their lower earning people. They now know that they don't need so many people in the service industry. So the jobs go. So the money that people can't have to afford to spend at these different businesses goes down. So the economy takes another hit and another hit. So more automation goes on. So the rich get richer as the capitalistic corporations think the only way they can fix this sinking ship is by hiring more and more expensive talent to try and steer them clear. The rich get richer, the poor get poorer, the economy gets worse and worse and worse. The jobs diminish and the politicians cut away at the welfare state, at social security payments, because the austerity lie means that the more desperate people are for jobs and for a decent welfare state, the more they are going to vote for austerity and parties that will try to fix the situation and crack down on benefit scroungers, therefore making the economies worse, making the situation worse. It's a never-ending cycle. Well, not a never-ending cycle. We can end the cycle. Can end the cycle by voting left, by voting socialist. We can end the cycle by ending capitalism. And, you know, there is a joke. I'm gonna say it's a joke that someone said once in response to one of my videos, saying, yes, socialism is the answer. National socialism. There is nothing wrong with patriotism. I'm patriotic. It's perfectly okay to have pride in your country. But if you are truly proud of your country, you don't need to shout about it. You don't need to be outraged about it. If Britain is truly great, if America is truly great, then it does not need you to defend it. If Britain is truly great, if America is truly great, then it will stand 1 billion trillion immigrants coming into the country from 1 billion trillion different cultures. Because, damn it, our culture will win out. True strength and supremacy lies not in fragility and the urgent need to defend that which you care about. True strength and supremacy lies in the confidence of knowing that you can help others without being concerned for the safety of yourself. Britain will still be Britain if we take in 1 trillion immigrants from 1 trillion different countries. America will still be America if it takes in 100 trillion immigrants from 100 trillion different countries. You can have faith in your country, you can have pride and patriotism in your country without letting it corrupt you into bigotry, without letting it corrupt you into treating others like shit. You don't need National Socialism. You need proper socialism. We need Jeremy Corbyn. We need Bernie Sanders. We need Syriza and Podemos. We need the SNP. We will find a way out of this, but we will find it on the left. The right may be giving you a nice warm sense of satisfaction at the moment, but that sense of satisfaction will turn. It will turn and it will fade and it will feel very fucking bitter. Because you know what, lads? It feels nice to fantasize that you're powerful. But then you wake up and you realize you're not. You realize you'd really rather do something about that. I used to be a regulated capitalist. That means that I used to believe that capitalism could work, and that when capitalism did work, when it was well regulated, that capitalism was a good thing for society in the world. Maybe I was wrong to believe this, but that's what I believed. Now, however, I hold a political belief that if we can get to the point of post-scarcity, if we can advance technology to the point where we no longer need capitalism and scarcity and inequality, that things will be better for society. And I encourage you all to join with me in becoming techno-progressives. I encourage you all to join with me in having faith in technology. Because through technology, you can talk to the world. You can find the one person in 7 billion who likes you just the way you are. Anime body pillow and all. Incidentally, I do not have a body pillow, although I am seriously considering changing that. But, guys, it's alright. You can love yourselves and not be a white supremacist. You can have pride in your country and not be a white supremacist. You can want socialism and not be a national socialist. You can want to fantasize about dominating women and not be a misogynistic bastard. You can get into healthy relationships with women where they will want you to dominate them sexually. That is a thing you can do as a left-wing feminist. Why the fuck would you want to be a bastard when you could be a good man and get everything you wanted anyway? Because here's the irony, here's the real fucking kicker. I'm probably gonna get what I want. Thanks to you guys, I'm making a living off of YouTube. And not only am I making a living off of YouTube, but thanks to 4chan, the left is finally fucking kicking into gear and is ready to destroy neoliberalism. Because, goddammit, Trump and Brexit have happened, the left are ready to kick off! And also, there is a significant woman in my life now. And she ain't no fucking imaginary fucking waifu. So yeah. I'm gonna be alright. I'm gonna be okay. My world may be fucked. The people I care about may be fucked. And I, as a person who gives a shit about other people, may feel very fucking bad about that. But I'm gonna be alright. And I'm gonna say to you too, that you can be alright. You don't have to turn to the alt-right to be alright. You can turn to the left. You can turn to centricism. You can turn to regulated capitalism, if that's what your jam is. You can find a movement that will accept you for who you are and what you are. And you don't have to be a racist joining a party of racists because you're a failure who thinks you're only ever going to be a failure. You can be so much more. And you deserve to be so much more. You don't deserve to be so fragile. You cling to the idea of supremacy. You deserve to be confident enough in yourself and who you are that you don't need to cling to outdated ideals of what you're supposed to have. You should have confidence and self-love enough to be happy with who and what you are at this moment. Because you know what? I think I look pretty good. I know I've got problems, but I actually, when I look in the mirror, I feel pretty darn good about myself. I'm happy with who I am. I don't feel the need to go to the gym and run 1 trillion miles to become somebody else because I am happy with who I am. And I like who I am. That does not mean I don't have parts of my body that I wish I'd change if I could. Just that I'm not willing to live my life in shame because of them. I'm not willing to be held back because of them. There are flaws and there are things I would like to improve, but they do not change what I love about myself, what I like about myself, and they do not change my ability to go about my day-to-day life and existence, and neither should your flaws be burdens around you. The fact that girls don't like you shouldn't be a burden dragging you down. And guys, don't comment. I don't need to know that you've got a girlfriend. You don't need to tell that to me, okay? I don't need to know about your beard. Whatever your sexuality is, whatever your gender is, whatever your pronouns are, you are a person and you deserve to be respected. Unless that is, you genuinely believe that genocide is a good thing, in which case you're probably gonna get shot. Because, yeah, genocide is kind of bad. So don't do that. Right? Like, it's okay to be a racist, it's okay to be a misogynist, these are issues that can be worked through in time. But, like, being in favor of genocide, thinking that all people of a specific group need to die because you don't like that doesn't work, right? It's not like somebody is going to pause, in the middle of fighting a war with you and say, well, I know he's exterminating thousands and millions of people, but, he's just a guy who really wants to date a girl, and it's really sad. No. Right? Fragility about your own ego and libido is not reason enough to think that people should be exterminated. Right? It's not. So like, fragility is fine. We can work through fragility. We can work through reliance on patriotism and on things that were promised to you in popular culture. But we can't necessarily help you if you're someone who is willing to commit genocide. So, the good news is, if you're not someone who is willing to commit genocide, then that doesn't apply to you, and we can help you. So yeah. Sorry I felt the need to add that bit, but, like, as I say, I made the mistake before of assuming I was talking to one group of people when actually I was talking to several different groups of people. Some of whom were genuine racists. You don't need to turn to the alt-right to be alright. You can be okay among the left. You can find yourself among the center. And you can have a right old time with the normal right. But ultimately, the political spectrums don't really matter anymore. It's just a case of, are you in favor of the establishment? Are you against the establishment? Or are you someone in favor of genocide and oppression? In which case, that's a problem that you're going to need to deal with pretty darn soon. As long as you're not in favor of genocide and oppression, then you'll probably be okay, and you'll probably find someone, and that's good. Everybody deserves to find someone. And you probably will, right? Because, as I say, my ex found me by basically sending everyone he liked the look of this massive, long, story of his life. So, if he can find success, if I can find success, then so can you. You just need to maybe stop being quite so creepy when you talk to girls. And, just say, hey, how are you? and like talk to them. And if they say they're not interested, then accept that, right? Like, girls are not vending machines that you pour kindness into and then get sex out of. Girls are people. They're humans, right? They have emotions and lives, and they're complex people. And if you like them and you want their companionship, you don't necessarily need to have the sex and the romance. Sometimes it's enough to just be friends with people. And, you know, ultimately, I've got good friends who I care about as well, and they've been with me through some very dark times, and I care about them very much. And like, it's okay to just have friends. It's okay to just have friends. Anyway, that's my olive branch to the alt-right, I suppose. To the disaffected 4chaners who are part of the alt-right anyway. My olive branch to the 4chaners. My olive branch to the trolls. I am sorry that I have wronged you. I am sorry that I have upset you. I am sorry that I have targeted you in response to your targeting me. I handled situations poorly, and I am not going to be so stupid again in the future. You are people, and like other people, you deserve to be respected. Anyway, I'm gonna go now. I've got a book to read. See ya. Thank you for watching my main channel. Please remember to leave a like, favourite and comment. Shout out to the Dislike Club. Subscribe if you like what you saw, and share if you know someone who might be interested in the contents of this video. If you would like to help ensure more videos get made, there are a few options available to you. You can whitelist this channel in your adblock software to ensure what ad revenue you provide has a chance of making its way to me. If you sign up to make a regular monthly donation through my Patreon, then you will get to watch a selection of videos available exclusively to my Patreon supporters over at my Patreon page. One-off donations are payable through PayPal, or if that doesn't suit your sensibilities, you can gift items through Steam or Amazon via my public wish lists. Obviously, I don't expect anything, and the vast majority of my videos will remain free and ad-supported. All that remains is to say Trump should be impeached, the genocidal must be stopped, and institute universal basic income now.